Joining us now with stories trending around the world is OjyOkpe. Good morning.
Good morning, Dr. Abati. Good morning, Ayo. Good morning, Rufai. Today is a very sad day. Well, good morning to you, viewers. Let's begin what's trending with the horrific news emanating from Kwara State, where a lawmaker, Saidu Baba Ahmed, is saying that almost 200 people were killed by terrorists after they violently attacked the villages of Nuku and Woro on Tuesday evening. According to the lawmaker, the terrorists invaded the area around 6 p.m. local time and set the king's palace, shops, and homes on fire. The attack was confirmed on Wednesday by the governor, AbdulRazaq, who stated that 75 Muslims were massacred for refusing to surrender to extremists.
Because they absolutely refuse a change of doctrine in the faith, they were attacked and massacred. It's different from what we used to see, where the subjects were kidnapped for ransom. But this was just a pure massacre, and it's something we truly condemn. But these challenges will be mitigated, inshallah. Well, at the moment, the State Emergency Services is going through enumeration and to look for how to take care and look for the members of the families.
I mean, this they've described as the deadliest attack, almost unimaginable that this occurred just back to back after. I mean, it's been a horrible year so far, Ayo. I mean, the attack of this magnitude is really, really horrifying. May all of their souls rest in peace. And I'd like to take Farouk Perogi's post. I mean, that he released a statement. He wrote, "People familiar with what happened in the village of Woro, Kayama local government area, said that the bloodbath started yesterday evening and continued into the morning hours of today. The trigger for the mass massacre was a decision by the district head of the village, by the name Alhaji Saliu Umar, to inform the authorities of a letter the community received from the terrorists stating that they would be coming to preach in the village at an unspecified date. The village head suspected that the terrorists known to locals as Mahmouda were up to no good. So he did what all law-abiding people would do, report to the security forces. It turned out, however, that the terrorists appeared to have informants among the security forces the village head reported to. The terrorists were incensed that the village head had the temerity to report them to the security forces and decided to go on a mass murdering spree. In retaliation, it is not the first time the Mahmouda terrorists have done such a thing in that community. The photos of slaughtered and mutilated bodies of innocent men, women, and children that my people shared with me have immobilized me and will probably haunt me for days. And I did see some of those visuals. Really, really horrific. You know, women, children, the king's family killed. And we had our reporter on ground. We even had our reporter yesterday saying that he was there counting bodies and he was weak. Ayo.
No, this is a very sad day for not just Kwara State, but for the whole of Nigeria.
Yes.
And a number of people have been talking about it. Earlier today, just corroborating what Mr. Farouk Perogi said, we had Alhaji Saliu himself come to speak about what happened. He described the fact that they had received letters ahead of time. Number one, this shows the brazenness of the terrorists, to the fact that they felt confident enough to write. It reminds me of the days when robbers would write to a neighborhood in some parts of Lagos and Nigeria and say, "We are coming," and nothing would be done. It also speaks to the inefficiency in this regard of security agents. It means it's almost an open dare to them. However, the military has continued to demonstrate their efforts to tackling insecurity, even though we're asking for more. Now, beyond that was that he went to report the matter as any uprighting citizen of the country and a community leader of his stature should have done. But what he met was a betrayal, a massive betrayal of trust, because someone within the agency, the GSS agency or the agency, the security agents, went to divulge this information to the enemies, who then, becoming upset, just what Mr. Kparugi said.
Yeah.
And so, a number of things to address here. In the same way as we had with the school kidnappings,
yes,
where someone leaked intelligence to the security operatives, and we said, who ordered the soldiers to withdraw? We don't have an answer to that yet. In the same vein, we're asking, who was the person that received intelligence information, and can we track the number of people in that chain who had information and begin investigation there? Let this not go. If not, we keep wasting our times. These are preventable deaths.
Yes.
These are preventable atrocities, because if something had been done following the letter that was written, perhaps we wouldn't be where we are today. Then beyond that is the fact that we must look at how, response time, because another thing that was asked this morning was, at what point were the soldiers called in? They were called at 5 p.m. They arrived at 3 a.m. That means that they arrived 10 hours. So what are the bottlenecks that were faced? With regards to emergency response, perhaps the number of deaths that were recorded would not have been recorded. It's a sad day for the community. Unfortunately, what this does is that it continues to spread fear amongst people in Kwara State and neighboring environments, and I dare say the whole of Nigeria, because the question is, who's next? If we're not arresting, if we're not prosecuting significantly, then Nigerians cannot go to bed with their two eyes closed that the government has security under control, and that's a sad situation. But the government say that they're on top of this. Let's see what they'll do after this.
They're on top of it. This is the same question, the same Kwara State. This is the question a lot of people are asking. I mean, it's not new that these terrorists are operating in Kwara State, especially. Why deploy troops after the fact? What if we have troops? Why don't you just put them on ground? People have died needlessly. Someone's saying 200 people. 200. In one day. May their souls rest in peace. Meanwhile, the United States military has confirmed that American troops have been deployed to Nigeria, marking the first official acknowledgement of U.S. boots on the ground since Washington launched airstrikes on Christmas Day. General Dagvin Anderson, head of U.S. Africa Command, announced on Tuesday that a small team with unique capabilities has been sent to Nigeria following increased security cooperation between both nations. The deployment came after Anderson's meeting with President Tinubu in Rome last year. Nigeria's Defense Minister Christopher Musa confirmed the presence of the U.S. personnel, but provided no further details. Meanwhile, the House Foreign Affairs Africa Subcommittee held a hearing on Wednesday titled Defending Religious Freedom Around the World, with U.S. congressmen calling out Nigeria as a country violating religious freedom. Well, according to former U.S. Ambassador Sam Brownback, Nigeria is at risk of descending into widespread Christian-Muslim violence, with Brownback describing Nigeria as the deadliest place on the planet to be a Christian. And Rufai, this was the conversation about this Kwara attack. They call them jihadists, the people that were there. But I call them terrorists, whether they are jihadists or not. They were out there trying to indoctrinate people in Kwara State, and because they refused to, cower to the religion, they massacred them. That's one of the stories out there.
Let's go back to the definition of a genocide.
Yes.
The definition talks a lot about intent, all right? In this case, in this massacre case, was there intent? Yes. The intent was to spread doctrines. They massacred Christians, they massacred Muslims, more Muslims. Mm-hmm. So can we all agree that this is a genocide? Because you see, in also having this conversation, it's how we situate the conversation. A lot of people were trying to run around and deny, there's no Christian genocide. No, there's no. And I've said many times, I can say boldly there's Christian genocide. I can also say there's genocide against Muslims in the country. But can we both agree that there's a genocide going on in Nigeria? Because with these killings, does it pass the test of intent? It does. Secondly, the case about complicity. Till today, the Nigerian state does not have. And please, let me be a bearer of bad news, Oji. Attacks like this will happen again.
God for.
No, see, it's not by God saying God forbid.
I always pray.
Oji, see, Oji, it's not for the words of prayer. If it's by prayer, the amount of prayer that goes out in churches every Sunday, Nigeria will not have one smell of insecurity. But it's not by prayer. It's by walking and praying. We pray, but we are not doing the aspect of walking. What is the walking? Intelligence, reconnaissance, holding people accountable. Oji, I can bet you that those that leaked the secret to the terrorist group, those that were complicit, they will never be revealed. We should not even investigate further, Oji. How did the village head call the security boys by 5 o'clock? They didn't come till after 3. And it was when the terrorists finished that they came. Who is protecting who? They said they put booby traps on the road. They call you by 5, reconnaissance. When I was asking Rafiu, the chief press secretary, he was trying to dodge it. You see, in this country too, you will not want to talk against your master or talk against. They said they got the people came. They didn't come until 3 o'clock. Ayo, you raised a very important point as regards the KB girls. That was how they ordered the military to leave there and the attack happened. So who is in charge of all of this? Who are the complicit bad eggs? Oji, as long as we've not targeted the complicit bad eggs, it's going to happen again because it didn't only happen in Kwara, it happened in Katsina, it happened in other parts. Oji, it's just that same level of complicity that happened in Kaduna, that terrorists came, picked 177 people. The local government chairman went there and told them, please don't talk about it, don't reveal this. And guess what? It was because the people revealed it. Till today, the local government chairman is still working free. The police was also complicit. The police also tried to cover it. Oji, in a case where you can't trust the police, trust security architecture, trust the fact that you give intelligence. And that's why when these people say, oh, give us intelligence of what is happening, you are so scared you don't know who to talk to. In a case you can't trust all of that, then there's the culture of complicity. Oji, it will happen constantly again. See, I don't know who said it to, but they cease to see that if an insurrection happens for more than 24 hours in a country, there's an element of complicity. The complicity is so wild in this country that you and I will be here and will report the next attack, which might be a couple of days from now, except we change.
We need to target these terrorists. Now, we are getting reports that at least 4 young Nigerians recruited to fight for Russia in the war with Ukraine were killed on the battlefield, according to investigations by the Daily Nigerian. The 4 Nigerians were all recruited under false pretenses of a security job, which ultimately led to their deaths on the front lines. The report indicated that the young men died at different points between December 2025 and January 2026, with the news of their killings first revealed in a secret WhatsApp group. Their journey to Russia began after an informal acceptance of the so-called security job offer by the Nigerian agent identified as Eniola Mohammed. Mohammed reportedly worked with the Russian embassy in Abuja to bring the young men to Russia, where they were promised a monthly salary of 200,000 rubles, which is the equivalent of about 3.6 million naira, among other perks. But as soon as they arrived in Russia, they signed a Russian contract with no English translation and were shipped off for training. While CNN's Larry Madowo had covered a similar story about Africans recruited to fight for Russia. Well, here is a snippet.
What is your name?
Francis.
Aside to get your.
This disturbing video appears to show an African recruit in the Russian army with a landmine strapped to his chest. He is being ordered to storm Ukrainian positions on the front lines.
I didn't see it. It is so traumatizing. Francis is my son.
Francis is among a growing number of African men fighting for Russia in Ukraine. I've spoken to about a dozen of them from Ghana, Kenya, Uganda, and Nigeria, who say they were forced into the Russian army and onto the front lines with barely any training. How long was the training?
3 weeks.
Many told me they were offered well-paying civilian jobs like drivers or electricians, and the money was good.
They are lying to people. The money that they tell people they pay, that is not true.
Most of the African fighters in Ukraine told me they're desperate to escape, but there's no way out. They feel trapped in a war with countless casualties and even racism from their Russian commanders.
You need to escape or you die. It's only 2 ways.
This is real. This is what is happening. 4 Nigerians among those dead. Well, the Russian embassy in Abuja has yet to comment publicly on this report, but it is concerning. Last year, Ukraine stated that over 1,400 Africans were fighting in the war for Russia.
Well, this is unfortunate, and it takes us back to the economic conditions in many African countries about the crisis of unemployment. Now, Larry Madowo has brought up the story, and he referenced other African countries. The most celebrated one was the case of South Africa, when about 17 young men were found to be fighting in the Donbass region in the Russia-Ukraine war. And then another story about one of the daughters of former President Jacob Zuma accusing, a sister of having been involved in sending some relatives abroad. And that showed us at that time that, look, these young men are promised jobs in Russia. And under the pretense of, being sent to go and find jobs and gain employment, they then end up being sent to the war front in a war in which they have no stake. And they are given training of not more than 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. Some of them have never even handled a rifle. So you find the South African case, there's also the Kenya case, and now this morning, you are seeing Nigerians have also been killed in Russia-Ukraine war. Now, innocent boys who are just looking for jobs, just the same way people are also trafficked abroad to go and either become maids in the Middle East and they end up doing something else, or they are trafficked to go and get jobs in Italy. And then our sisters, become some other kind of, adult service providers in parts of Europe. So this is about trafficking. And I think, it's also about governance. So African countries need to be more vigilant and make sure that innocent young men are not just recruited to go and take jobs abroad. In terms of governance, we need to provide for our people at home. And then there must be a system for checking. If somebody says, I found a job in Russia, which kind of job are you going to take there? It's a classic case of the admonition, although the reference by the original author was to politics, that you don't have to die in their war.
No.
I think it's a sad realization that Nigerians, Ugandans, Kenyans, Ghanaians, South Africans are dying in their war in Europe, between Russia and Ukraine, becoming mercenaries because their countries disappoint them. And they are subjected to the worst conditions possible. I think our Foreign Affairs Ministry and the relevant government agencies, should engage first in public education, enlightenment, to tell people if they tell you there is a job in Russia, just be sure. The caveat emptor is buyer beware.
Buyer beware. Well, let's head over to Kano State, where a video that has sparked public fear and outrage shows a herder openly wielding a gun in broad daylight while leading a herd of cattle. The incident reportedly took place in Dawanu. Well, let's take a look. All right, that was a very short clip of that man. I'm sure you saw that man, Ayo, wielding that gun. And we haven't heard from the governor of the state, Abba Yusuf, on this incident, or the Kano State Police Command on whether this individual has been apprehended. Users on social media have expressed concern over public safety, given, the business and the surrounding area, and, also questioning the fact that, this man, does he have a right to carry a gun? And this is a story that I saw even yesterday. We took the American story about this young man saying these people that are perpetrating the crime in Yelwata, and this was his actual statement, and saying that they were Fulani herders. And these are the sort of conversations that we need to begin to have, where we see people wielding guns, herders. they're supposed to have sticks, not guns, Ayo. Yeah. Not guns. I want to tie this story in as well, and I'd like for you to discuss both. Also in Kano State, well, the Emir of Kano, Muhammadu Sanusi II, is calling out the government, stating that the persistent high rate of child marriage in parts of northern Nigeria is due to the failure to provide schools and opportunities for young girls. Sanusi made these comments during a live television interview on Wednesday as part of a broader conversation on culture, education, and reform. The Emir also condemned domestic violence, saying you cannot beat a woman because your culture says you can. Let's take a look.
Okay, we have citizens and human beings, and they have rights. Those rights are inviolable. You cannot violate them in the name of a culture. You cannot beat a woman because your culture says you can beat her. She's a Nigerian citizen entitled to protection. It doesn't matter what you think, okay, because these are the values that we live by in this time. You cannot abuse a child. It's all well and good to talk about child marriage. You go to a village in some parts of the north, and there's a primary school, and that's it. So the girl finishes school at 11. Between 11 and 18, what arrangements have you made for her? There's no secondary school. There's no skills center. There is no provision at all for her life. The poor man basically finds that she's 12, 13. He's afraid that she can go and get pregnant on the road, and the next young man that comes, he marries her off. Okay, so you've got to understand that sometimes these cultures basically reflect poverty. It's not about supply, demand, is also supply for education. Let's build the schools. Let us go and make sure that we have the primary schools, we have the secondary schools, we have the teachers. And then let us see if people do not take their children to those schools.
Sanusi made critical points here. Nigeria has the world's highest number of out-of-school children, while society debates culture and tradition. The real culprit, as the Emir has exposed, is state failure. When there are no schools, families have no choice but to marry their girl child off out of desperation and not tradition. The northern elite need to invest in education.
Very well said. We need more traditional leaders like the Emir. He's always been an advocate of education and always been an advocate of education for the girl child in particular. You know, of course, across board, boy and girl child. But I think it's important for institutions like the seat of the Emir to come out and speak very boldly about these issues in the north. This is not the first time. On this table, we've often advocated for more infrastructure, social infrastructure, welfare to be directed to the north, and we've asked a question as well around what the governors are doing, especially as when we keep talking about, increased FAC allocation, and we keep facing the center. But a lot of these governors are guilty of not serving their communities or serving their people well, especially with the resources at their disposal. Many of them have access to FAC allocation. Some of them they generate revenue internally, but we don't scrutinize their budgets. They spend the money in a way that beggars belief because a lot of attention is on the center. And so he's spoken very well. Let there be a northern elite consensus to tackle education, and they should give themselves a timeline, and OJ will see a considerable advancement in education in the north. And so while we talk about, this also it spills into the issue around insecurity, because if we had the young people engaged and not indoctrinated into false narratives because they have education, we would see a reduction in criminality and criminal activities in the northern part of Nigeria. And so whilst we may scream and shout about how things are bad, the northern Nigeria is unsafe, we must also pay close attention to what dividends of democracy the people in the north are actually enjoying, and how we must not pay lip service to education but actually put our money where our mouth is. Now, talking about the herders who were armed, the truth is that in recent times we've had a proliferation of arms, particularly in certain parts of Nigeria. And so the question I want to ask is, how can a herder afford to buy a weapon? Some of them even have AK-47s. But investigations have been done, and some of the reasons have been cited. Number one is porous borders. So these arms are gotten illegally from neighboring countries. Number two is the fact that they also have financiers who use these herders because they can conceal the weapon to traffic illegal weapons into Nigeria, and some of them retain these weapons. The truth is that if we want to be serious about tackling these issues, a lot of times we know the reason, we know the solution to be given. It is just a political will or a will to solve the matter. This man has his face unmasked. He's walking freely on the street. Why has he not been apprehended? Because many of us know that he possibly does not have a license to carry that weapon.
All right. We'll take our next story now. With a new international investigation, which exposed how a Nigerian socialite, Nzube Henry Ikeji, allegedly posed as the Crown Prince of Dubai to defraud a Romanian businesswoman of over $2.5 million. The investigation by the Organized Crime and Corruption Reporting Project revealed that Ikeji, along with his associate Martins Abuliman, ran a sophisticated romance and investment scam over nearly 2 years. Ikeji allegedly impersonated Sheikh Hamdan Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum on LinkedIn, expressing interest in funding humanitarian initiatives in Romania. What started as professional conversations evolved into a romantic relationship. The victim, identified only as Laura, was allegedly instructed to meet Ikeji's associate in London, where she was reportedly shown a fake bank account with over £200 million. Over time, Laura was said to have transferred more than $2.5 million in various fees before the scheme unraveled.
So this guy climbed very quickly. Just within from 2023 to 2024, he was everywhere. And he could see the wealth, the money, and everything. He flew to London for vacation.
Henry also mixed with Nigerian celebrities, including one of Nigeria's biggest musicians, Davido.
Davido had a concert in Asaba. So as Davido was performing, this guy was bringing bundles of naira, and then he would throw the bundle at the stage. The naira flew around and then carpeted the stage.
What is Henry's nickname?
His nickname is Excess Money. The wife put a post on Instagram thanking God for gifting them another mansion in another city. And that mansion in another city is the house in Abuja. Henry himself posted pictures of him and one of the biggest real estate developer in Nigeria. So my own hunch was like, well, probably he bought this house from this man. So it's probably in one of his estates. Yeah, Henry is me. Chike is here. Eh? From Laura. From Laura. Do you know Laura? From Romania. Did you ever tell her you are Prince of Dubai? Are you sure? I told you I'm Chike, I'm a journalist. I'm from OCCRP.
So, how did you get to my house?
Well, that's my job as a journalist.
Why is this man videoing me?
It's not a problem. Don't worry about him. He's my colleague.
Well, this story has garnered several reactions on social media. Ikeji has not been charged of any crime as of the filing of this report. We're told that authorities in Nigeria, the United Kingdom, and Romania are investigating the case, and some funds have been seized from Ikeji's associate, Martins Abuliman. And this is the kind of story that we see. I mean, I usually don't, feature stories like this, but when you hear of incidents of this sort of crime. And apparently we'd seen that this man, I mean, he's not guilty, he hasn't been charged, has been seen in pictures even with the Inspector General of Police, Rufai Kayode Egbetokun.
So the thing is, Inspector General might not know that this is for a living, and other people he's seeing we might not know. But you see, there's something about people like this, if he's charged, or let me talk about scam artists in general. They use social appearances to legitimize the money. Hence the pictures with strategic people and all of that. Also, they use politics to legitimize the money. You'll be shocked. Most people that get into politics, Oji, this is the source of their money. And you'll be shocked that that happens. Most importantly, I think the authorities should be able to file a charge, maybe from Romania, from the lady, to be able to come to this jurisdiction and be able to file a charge. But Oji, are you surprised? I mean, that was how Hush Puppy told us he was a realtor for so many years until the truth came out in Dubai. We've had many cases like that. It's the normal MO. That's how Victor Obi told us that he was the best thing because he made a lot of money from tech. In fact, even Forbes
under 30
featured him as 30 under 30 before we finally found out what happened. So there are many of them like that. I mean, there was somebody in Ogun State, I think a special advisor, that was caught abroad. In fact, there's a traditional ruler as we speak currently, of a part in this country.
From your area?
That went up. No, a traditional ruler is not from my area.
Oh, is it not?
No, the traditional ruler.
Or maybe a chief.
No, it's not a chief.
Maybe a former special advisor.
No, none of
Who are you talking about, Dr. Abad? Is it from Ogun State?
There's a traditional ruler from somewhere around Osun State. You know who I'm talking about. No, there's a traditional ruler
now.
From, I can't remember the particular town.
Name, okay.
Is it a Petu?
No, the name of the traditional ruler.
I don't remember his name straight off the bat of my head. But it's a traditional ruler. Yes, from Ikpetu Modu, I've just been told. Yeah, thank you so much for that. From Ikpetu in Osun State, that was when he went to America, was apprehended. So this thing has been going on for so many years. I mean, there are people, I mean, we remember the 19 Boys days, the Cocaine Avenue Boys in Festac, you know. You remember all of those people. So, in fact, there are a lot of wealthy people today that the first tranche of money they made in their life was from scam and things like that. But these people cannot keep giving Nigeria a bad name, the Nigerian praise and all of that.
Yes.
That's why we need to crack them down.
Okay.
The people he was pictured with might not know. Most of the time, they don't always know. But please be careful to also ask. When you see people spending money in a too good to be true way, ask questions.
Right. Dr. Abati, over to you. You also wanted to touch on Emir of Sanusi story.
I wanted to comment on what Sakin Kano said.
Yes.
First about, education. Now, the northern leaders, emirs, governors, they've been holding meetings since 1957 to address the problem of education out of school children in the northern part. Why is it that since 1957, northern leaders have not been able to solve the problem? So the problem is a failure of leadership. These same leaders of the north, they send their daughters to schools abroad, to elite schools, but they ignore the people. They run a feudalistic system that has survived till today. Now, every effort by the Nigerian government to address the problem has not even worked. In 2014-2013, the Jonathan administration built 165 Almajiri schools in the north to get the children out of the streets. The same northern leaders did not allow the Almajiri school model to work. So when Sakin Kano, Sanusi II, says this is a serious problem, it's a serious problem because also the elite in the north have refused to commit to the education of the girl child. They see them as brides. Girl child as brides. A girl, not a bride. Now, quickly, on women not to be beaten.
Yes.
Now, there's a law in the country called the Violence Against Persons Prohibition Act 2015, which has been adopted by 35 states out of 36. Now, do you know that the states that have refused to gazette that law, they are northern states. Most of them. So beating women is a crime.
It is a crime.
Beating a man.
This is
beating
it
a man
for everyone.
Let me fight for us too.
Beating a man is a crime. Beating a woman is a crime.
Violence against persons.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for that. Thank you for that. We had a bunch of stories to take. We had our good news report featuring Kai Senat, who is the American streamer. We'll take that tomorrow because I'd love to really feature the story properly. We also had the story of Akpabio saying that he did not reject the electronic transmission of result, but that was such a big issue because, I mean, what he's saying is really not what we're talking about. We're talking about the fact that real-time results need to be transmitted real-time. This is really what Nigerians are asking for at this point. So hopefully we'll try to take those stories tomorrow. Well, on that note, I'd love to thank you all for your great analysis, as always, on What's Trending. But that's all I have for you guys on What's Trending today. I'll see you all tomorrow.